Hello and welcome to the Movie Bunker podcast. It's
Hi, Chris.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Sorry.
Wow.
I would just thought I'd preempt your hello. Just by jumping in because I know it's you. I can see you. Hi, Chris.
I'm not even looking at you. Can we try it again? I'm completely out of Wax me out there.
Sorry, dude. Yeah, go ahead.
You can still do that thing if you want to, but
Oh, no, not twice.
God, hang on. Hello and welcome to the Movie Bunker podcast. It's me, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Oh God, it's you, Matt. Yes.
Yeah, I'm working on my timing. How's it going? Do you think?
I think you need to work a little bit harder on your timing there.
Oh, all right.
We've been doing this podcast for nearly 2 years. You should know the cues for introducing yourself by now.
No, I'm a slow learner, which is what everyone always says to me. I think that's what they're saying to me. It's hard to work it out.
It's better than just being called slow, isn't it, really, to be honest?
The polite way, right? Oh, you're just a slow learner. It's fine. You'll pick it up sooner or later.
I've got to say Happy New Year, because this is our first new podcast of the new year,
2020.
Yeah. This is going to be an exciting year for us, I think. I can feel it in my bones.
Yeah. Well, there's some doozy films out already on the old on Netflix. There's Hellboy, obviously, which we've mentioned many, many, many times. I think it was probably going to be our next film to review. There's also that Hustle. Is it Hustle? The Dirty Rotten Scandals remake. So that looks horrendous as well. So looking forward to those films. And we've got the DVDs as well. And
we've got our DVD gifts. Yes, I'm looking forward to getting stuck into Garbage Pail Kids.
Oof.
But you had a chat with one of our special guests.
So I spoke to Hannah Woodhead, who's a writer for The Guardian, BBC, GQ, Vulture magazine, associated at Little White Lies, basically everywhere. She is omnipresent on the internet. And we spoke about we gave a bit of rope here because the film that Hannah picked was Step Brothers, which I think in most places is considered to be decent. So I don't think it was reviewed very well.
No, that's the whole point, I think. I mean, with our guests, I think we do have to be a bit more lenient because A, we're running out of films, and B, it is down to a lot of it's down to basically how well the audience receives it. Okay, a lot of films at the very beginning, when I guess
kind of Hannah nailed the whole purpose of our podcast. We've been doing it for 2 years and haven't managed to find the badly reviewed film, which is actually really good. And Hannah, on her first attempt, has gone, here it is. Here's the film you've been looking for. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Here's the interview. Hello and welcome to the Movie Bunker podcast. It's me, Matt, and today I'm joined by our guest, Hannah Woodhead. Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
Good. It's that weird kind of super busy before Christmas period. So I'm just tired and full of very stodgy food, and we have our Christmas party tomorrow, so there's going to be a lot of drinking and
on a Thursday.
On a Thursday and on election day, so it's going to be a quite a day, an emotional day.
They did choose to throw an election in the middle of Christmas as well, which is good fun, good timing, right?
Yeah, perfect timing. Just when we're all sort of limping towards the finish line of the year, they throw that in the works as well. Yeah, it's, thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it. So for our listeners, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Hannah?
I can. So I am the associate editor at Little White Lies magazine, and I've been there 2 years now, and I am also a sort of jack of all trades freelance writer. I've written for places like GQ, The Guardian, most recently Vulture, and I just love movies, love any excuse to talk about movies. You can hear me on hundreds of podcasts probably, but normally the Little White Lies Truth in Movies podcast.
Perfect. So where did you where did your love of movies develop? Where did it all start from? Is there a sort of genesis point you can put your finger on?
There is. So my family aren't really movie people at all. They will kind of watch films if there's an actor they like in it, but they're not really that into films. They don't go to the cinema very much. My mum, I think the last film my mum saw at the cinema was Monsters University. So it's been quite a while. And I think that was the only reason she saw that is because I really wanted to see it. So yeah, I remember having this really vivid memory of being I must have only been about 6 or 7, and we went to see Chicken Run at the cinema at the Sheffield showroom. And I remember sitting at the front, in front of the first row. I was on the floor, and I was just absolutely rapt. I thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen, which it probably was. I was very small at the time, and I was, I laughed, I cried, I was very, very scared of Mrs. Tweedy, and for a while I refused to eat chicken. And I think from that moment it was kind of love at first sight, and ever since I've always loved watching movies, always loved going to the cinema. My mum and I used to have a weekly ritual where we'd go and rent DVDs from the library, and it eventually developed into something I decided I wanted to make a living out of. And with a lot of determination, I have eventually got there, I guess.
Yeah, not an easy trade to crack into, I imagine.
No, very much so. I guess I had a subscription to Empire when I was growing up, and I always thought, this would be the absolute dream job, but you just kind of don't really think it will happen until it actually does happen. And even now, I'll be doing things like I'll go to a film festival, or I'll be on, I'll get asked to come on the news and talk about films, and it still feels very surreal and very precarious as well. I think there's always a kind of underlying sense of dread that one day the bubble will burst and none of us will be able to make a living out of it anymore. So you have to kind of just enjoy it whilst you can.
Yeah, there's definitely I think that's been a sort of a common and sort of prevalence amongst the people we spoke to, especially the writers, more than anything else. It's just this feeling that it could go away at any point, and kind of like knowing you're riding that lovely sort of wave right now of doing something you absolutely love.
Yeah, because I think there are very few people who don't get to do what they love for a living. So we're lucky in that regard. And I always feel slightly I see a lot of kind of cynicism in the industry, a lot of complacency, and I think it's always kind of important to check your own privilege, because it really, at the end of the day, working in film it's hard and it's not for everyone, but I really do think it is not the worst job in the world. I think it is there are people out there doing far harder jobs. So for me, I love what I do and I take what I do very seriously, but I think you have to have a little bit of perspective at the same
time. So I always ask this question, I guess. Recently, I used to put a year on it, but I won't tie you down to that. What's the film? What's the film that you were sort of most looking forward to that ended up kind of disappointing you?
I think it's probably Jojo Rabbit. So I love Taika Waititi, and I was fully kind of a bit skeptical, but generally thought if anyone is going to make this movie good, it will be him. And I saw it at Toronto Film Festival, and I really, really hated it. It just didn't land for me at all. And some people have absolutely loved that film and really, they find it very moving and very funny. But for me, I just thought it was one of the most kind of cringe-inducing, self-indulgent pieces of trash I've ever seen.
Let's say how it is, Hannah.
I apologize to listeners because it doesn't come out for another month in the UK. But I won't say anything else about it. But I did not care for that film at all.
Yeah. Well, I was looking forward to that, but now not so.
Well, I say it really has divided critics, because a lot of people did really like it. I'm one of the kind of dissenting voices, and I say I generally really like Taika Waititi's stuff. What We Do in the Shadows is, I think, one of the best films made in the last decade. But they can't all be winners, I guess. And whatever he's making, he's already sort of in production on his new film, and of course I'll go and watch that. But you know, I have to be honest about my opinion. I can't kind of give him a pass. So you know, it didn't work for me, unfortunately.
Keep him honest. Okay, so the reverse of that question, was there a particular film that you were like dreading and actually turned out to be surprisingly good, or surprisingly not as shit as you thought it was going to be?
So I've been in. I undertook. I pitched a piece to a publication about Adam Sandler, where I would watch every single film he's been in and rank them accordingly.
Wow.
And so that's I excluded uncredited cameos in short films just because I needed like to draw the line somewhere. But that is 48 or 49 films in total. I think 48. So it's quite a lot of films, some of which I had already seen, but a lot of very bad, you know, the kind of the ones that everyone says are truly awful I hadn't seen. So that was kind of, I was approaching it with a lot of like, oh God, what have I done? But then I watched Jack and Jill, which everyone had said to me is unequivocally the worst Adam Sandler film, and I actually really liked it. So,
but how many Adam Sandler films had you seen by this point? Had you just been beaten into submission?
Yeah, that's the thing. I can't quite tell if I'd just seen so many by that point. I'd got a kind of weird Stockholm syndrome going on, or if like I genuinely had a fun time with it. I don't think it's at all his worst film, and I now feel like the authority on that. I think he's having fun. I think that Al Pacino is having so much fun in that film. You could really trace the lineage from Jack and Jill to The Irishman, in my opinion. Like I think it's, you know, he's doing this kind of larger than life, like, you know, full tilt crazy Al Pacino performance, and I had a lot of fun with it. I think people were pretty harsh on that film.
Yeah, well, we're one of those. It's one of the ones that we've actually done for our podcast.
Oh, well, there we go. Someone else out there appreciates it as much as I do.
Yeah. The chimichanga.
I mean, I think like he has made so many like truly quite awful films, and that one is really, apart from the chimichanga scene, I don't really think it's that offensive. I think the worst, in my opinion, the worst like proper Adam Sandler film is The Ridiculous Six, which I really did not like at all. I thought it was just totally just pointless, just so kind of puerile and nothing interesting or like warm about it. And I think that even the rubbish Adam Sandler films I like because they feel kind of like there's a little sweetness to them, and Ridiculous Six, I didn't get any of that. So I think at least Jack and Jill is kind of, you know, it's about family and it's about loving your siblings even when they're really, really annoying. So I kind of like that. I think was a more like heartfelt message. So I mean, I like it. I think more people should give it a go.
Did any of his dramatic films kind of feature highly? Because like Punch Drunk Love is quite a performance, right?
I mean, I have a Punch Drunk Love tattoo, so I'm probably not the best person to go to for like
you sound completely unbiased on this, Matt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All his dramatic films rank apart. I think Spanglish is the one that I ranked lowest, but that's not like really a diss. It's still pretty high on the list, though. Actually the worst one is he made a film with Jason Reitman called Men, Women and Children, which it's not really Adam Sandler's fault. It's just like a very bad film. It's just very cynical and very like, hey, we all need to get off the internet and communicate, type of like, you know, movie that no one asked him to make. But like his other dramatic films, I think Punch Drunk Love, The Meyerowitz Stories, this film Reign Over Me, which is really good and no one's seen. And even he has a little cameo in Chris Rock's film Top 5, which is really, really charming. It's a great film. That is genuinely a very good film. Not even just like good for Sandler, it's just a very good film. So I think people, you know, with the Uncut Gems coming out in this week in the United States and in January in the UK, a lot of people are like, oh my God, Adam Sandler like can act. And it's like, yes, we know. Like we, you know, if you're a fan of his or like even like vaguely familiar with kind of his general body of work, like this isn't really news.
It's not news,
just
no.
he's made like quite a few dramatic films now. Not all of them work, but The Cobbler does not work very well. But there are like, I genuinely think like it wasn't news to me that he was capable
A decent actor.
of doing a great performance. And I do think he's remarkable in Uncut Gems, but it is like, for me, it's just kind of the icing on the cake. He's made a lot of great films, and this is just another one that I really, really like. So, yeah, I mean, it was nice. I wasn't as pained by the experience of watching all those films as I thought I was going to be. I thought I was going to be totally about 3 weeks.
So it must have been pretty solid during that time then, because like you said,
I was watching a couple every night because I watched I had about 30 that I hadn't seen, or that I haven't seen in so long that I felt I needed to kind of go back and watch them again. So I was watching, a couple every night, but most of his films are 90 minutes.
It's always good.
So it's, you can get 2 out in an evening and you've still done more work than watching The Irishman. So, like and I love The Irishman, but it is, you could almost watch 3 Adam Sandler films in the time it takes to watch The Irishman. So I not that that's like an indicator of the quality or anything, but it was actually, when you know that it's for a purpose as well, when you're not just kind of doing it for self-satisfaction. I was like, well, okay, I know when my deadline is to file the piece, so I've got to get them all watched. But I was adding them to my letterbox, and people started to notice and were like, Hannah, why is all you've watched for the past 3 weeks Adam Sandler films? And I was like, don't worry, like it is for work. But at the same time, I think they were just like, she's lost it completely. Something inside her has broken.
I really wish I'd started up a new profile before doing this podcast, because I didn't. And I've got a horrible profile pollution of just like constant recommendations of awful films, because this is what we do. So, yeah, it's just like, I want Netflix to occasionally just go, listen, guy, just...
Are you okay?
Are you okay? Yeah. Do you need a call? Does someone need to come give you a hug? Because you're just watching the worst films. Speaking of which, we're moving on to your... To be honest, I think we've given you a bit of latitude here, because this is one of the higher rated sort of guilty pleasure bad films that we've had in the podcast. And the film that you've chosen is Step Brothers.
Hey.
All right, everybody. Sleeping arrangements. Brennan, you're going to be sharing a room with Dale. Just until the two of you get jobs and you move out.
Hey, are you awake? Yeah. I hate your guts. As soon as your eyes shut, I'm going to punch you square in the face. This is the one rule of the house. Don't ever touch my drum set. Don't touch it!
All right.
Did you touch my drum set?
Yep.
Why are you so sweaty?
I was watching Cops.
I think they're starting to like each other.
What are you doing?
I'm burying you.
I'm alive, man! I'm alive!
You're waking the neighbors! Shut up!
Okay, name your favorite dinosaur. Velociraptor.
All right. If you were a chick, who's the one guy you would sleep with?
John Stamos. What?
Did we just become best friends?
Yup!
You have 1 month to find jobs or you're out in your asses.
What?
I will arrange interviews and you will go.
Who's this gentleman sitting behind you?
Hello, Ms. Lady.
You can't.
Shut your mouth.
You shouldn't tell the person who is interviewing you to shut their mouth.
You're sounding stupid now.
I'm sorry? What did
You're
you
just
say?
coming off stupid.
Please leave this office.
Do we get any sort of souvenir?
Get out of my office!
Well, if it isn't Dale Dovick and his little buddy.
Just leave me alone, will you?
Shut up, fool!
You should treat me, an adult, with some respect.
So maybe you don't go down that way anymore.
That's what we talked about. We're going to take the long way home.
Can we turn our beds into bunk beds?
It'll give us so much extra space in our room to do activities.
You're adults. You can do what you want.
This is the funnest night ever!
Hey, I never asked you.
Yeah.
You like guacamole?
Which
Yes.
I had a quick look at the rating of it, and currently it's like 6 and a bit. But when it first came out, it was actually much lower rated. I think it's one, like a lot of Will Ferrell things, that has kind of grown into the sort of people's affections over time.
See, I was actually surprised because it's a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I thought it would be higher than that because everyone I know loves Step Brothers.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just because it's like most of the people I know are film people, and I think there's a kind of, like you say, there's a general reappreciation of Will Ferrell's bro comedies that I think has gone on since they were made. But yeah, I was very surprised. I genuinely couldn't kind of reconcile that with my opinions of the film. I was like, who on earth was giving this like bad reviews? And then like I went through the rotten reviews and I was like, okay, well these people are now all on my like hit list. I'm never trusting their opinions about anything ever again.
So what drew you to picking this film for us then?
Well, I think it's just always one that I like to watch again, and for me, like if I'm going to talk about a bad movie, it's got to be one that I've seen enough times that I feel like kind of comfortable defending it, and it's not one that I'll go back to and be like, oh wait a second, actually no, I was wrong. Whereas Step Brothers, I think it's very unlikely that my opinion will ever change of this movie. I really do think it is it's one that I can just put on no matter how I feel, and it like will improve my mood. If I'm angry, I can put Step Brothers on. If I'm sad, I can put Step Brothers on. If I'm in a good mood, I can put Step Brothers on. You know, it's just like it is to me like a perfect film.
I always think it's a good rate of a film to say, like, if you're flicking through the channel, how far would the film have to be through before you'd go, oh, actually, I'm not going to bother with that because that's 20
Yeah,
minutes
I think Step Brothers is like, you would just, no matter what point in the film, you'll be like, oh, why not?
Just for the singing, right, at the end. That's like, as long as you can catch that bit.
Just for that scene. Yeah, exactly. And I don't think there's any point, like any weak point in the film. I think it is, even though it's, it's a very predictable format, I think there's so much going on in the film that it is, there's always something that kind of draws your attention. You're always like waiting for the next like joke or the next like just insane, like the bit I'm thinking of is at the moment is when Brennan is burying Dale alive, like in the garden. Like just so much kind of surreal, weird humor, which I don't think we see enough of in comedies nowadays. I think mainstream comedy has kind of become a bit I don't know, just there doesn't feel like there's as much around now as there used to be.
This is when he's crying that he's still alive and he's shouting at him stop because he's annoying the neighbours. He's
like, be quiet, wake up the neighbours. The only thing I can really compare the films like Step Brothers and to a lesser extent things like Blades of Glory, which I don't think is as good as Step Brothers, but it's still like,
no.
Fun.
I mean, Adam McKay had a bit of a run with Will Ferrell and films and doing quite well, right? So he did Talladega Nights, which is, I love Talladega Nights.
I really like Talladega Nights as well. Yeah, this was before he decided that he was going to go and make serious films. Of course, he'd done all these bro comedies with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, and then it was like, okay, now I'm a serious director, and he went and made The Big Short and got nominated for all these awards, and then
which was great, to be fair.
Last year, I liked The Big Short, but I kind of was hoping that after that he would make another like good comedy, and he didn't make Vice. So I felt a bit kind of like, oh, it's sad. Because the last comedy he straight up comedy he directed was Anchorman 2, which I don't think is a very good film. Whereas he, from Anchorman in 2004 through to The Other Guys in 2010, pretty much all the films he made were like pretty fun.
The Other Guys is like is an underrated film, right? I always
it is,
because it's really quite hard hitting and punching, and I think it probably obviously leads directly into The Big Short, weirdly enough.
Oh yeah, there's a definite through line. I think as well with The Other Guys, it was one that I didn't really get maybe on the first like watch,
No.
And then I rewatched it. Like, oh, actually, this is very good. I enjoy this a lot. But
Well, I think
that's
it has to be rewatched, doesn't it? Because you watch it once and you're like, oh, it's just a Will Ferrell film. Everyone's being dumb. And then you have like the end credit sequence of all of the sort of like stats about how shit bankers are. And then you go, oh, hold on.
It's actually pretty smart.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I think that is his best like rated film in terms of like Rotten Tomatoes, for however much that factors into actual reality. Well, next to The Big Short, obviously, which I think is probably higher. But of his comedies, I think The Other Guys is the one that was like best received, and Step Brothers was the one. Well, I'm thinking about Anchorman 2, which I'm refusing to admit the existence of.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've just googled it. Anchorman 2 got really good reviews as well.
Really?
75% on Rotten Tomatoes. Whereas
and Step Brothers only got 55.
Sitting there on 55 doesn't make any sense. Does not make any sense.
Does not compute.
So yeah, I don't understand that. I don't know who those people are that are making those calls.
I mean, with Step Brothers, it's got like a relatively small cast. It's not huge, but like it's good. Do you know what I mean? It's like, obviously Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. I mean, John C. Reilly is just amazing. They're Mary Steenburgen.
The way that they, Mary Steenburgen as well. I think is like, I love her anyway. I think she's again like really underrated, and of course, like, I mean, we've not even got onto it yet, but the Adam Scott performance in this film.
Yeah.
Like, if people are fans of The Good Place, it's like, well, you want to go and watch Step Brothers because that's where evil Adam Scott started.
That's where you can find evil Adam in his natural environment, just prowling around.
Yeah. There's a definite through line from Derek through to him on The Good Place for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's worth mentioning as well, and getting your opinion on. Because I was very excited at the announcement of Holmes and Watson because of Step Brothers.
Oh God, yeah.
And again, it's one we've had to throw into the podcast because it was just so horribly disappointing.
I don't really know what happened either, because you would think, kind of Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly back at it again, and no was the resounding verdict on that. Just like a real swing and a miss.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, I am not totally surprised because it's from the guy who made Get Hard, which is also a very bad film. But yeah, I mean, for so long now, we've been waiting for Step Brothers 2. And everyone's been like, come on, it's been however many years, like, it's time. And then that's what we get in exchange is this really like pretty awful slapstick Holmes and Watson that no one asked for or wanted.
It's like you said with the sort of digging scene where he's burying him. It was kind of like a brave comedy moment, whereas it seems that I was watching Holmes and Watson going, it's almost there, but just missing, just repeatedly scene after scene.
And it's such a great cast as well. You do kind of, you're like, how did they manage that? Even beyond Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, you've got Rebecca Hall, you've got Ray Fiennes, you've got Steve Coogan and Hugh Laurie, and it's like, why? How did you manage to get this so badly wrong? Like, I just don't. It doesn't entirely make sense to me because the guy like Ethan Cohen. Ethan, I'm emphasizing down the mic. I'm like, not Ethan. It wasn't Ethan, because as Bill Murray will attest, we've all been there. But Ethan Cohen, he has actually, like, as a writer, like, he's done some not bad films. He wrote the script for Tropic Thunder with Ben Stiller and Justin Theroux. Now it makes you wonder kind of how much he was writing, because I mean, I won't defend Get Hard or Holmes and Watson, but even Men in Black 3, he wrote the script for that, which I thought was actually one of the better sequels that's kicking around, certainly a lot better than Men in Black International. So it just was like, it just such a crushing disappointment that we finally got these two comedy idols back together, and they have such great chemistry together, and this is what they come back with. This is what they choose to work on together.
Maybe when they wrote Tropic Thunder, they just used Eaton as a sort of sounding board. Sort of said the joke. If he laughed, it went. I was like, no, sorry.
No, just cut it. Eaton thinks it's funny.
Eaton thinks it's funny. Move on.
I mean, it blows my mind. It blows my mind that Justin Theroux wrote that movie as well. I'm like, what was his role? Like, maybe it was just Ben Stiller, and he was just like, oh yeah, they're my buddies. I'll put them on the script as well. It's very very strange to me. I always think about that a lot. I'm like, that writer's room must have been wild. Very strange energy. And that movie as well. I daren't watch that because I just know that it is going to have aged very, very badly. At the time, when you're like, however old I was when that came out, I must have been about, God, I think it was 2008. So I would have been around 16.
Right.
And you can kind of like, that's the kind of thing you find funny when you're 16, but then there's like a grown woman. I'm like, yeah, it really wasn't okay that Robert Downey Jr. was doing blackface and we all just like let that happen. It's,
but I don't think it was okay at the time, right? It's like, it wasn't, we're not talking trading places here. We're not talking like the 80s. It's like,
no, exactly. It was like, it's like 2008 or whatever. It's like, what? Why wasn't there a bigger fuss made? I remember there been like a few kind of like, hey, what? But
I always just thought I was missing something, and it was just like so massively self-aware that it was like it was back again.
That was the whole joke in the film, wasn't it? It was like it's the other character who's saying like, this isn't cool, but you're like, but it just goes on for so long. The bit in the film, you're like, what? But luckily for us, I think Step Brothers has less kind of problematic humor to it. I think it's pretty juvenile, but at least it's not really offensive. I think it's it doesn't punch down, I think, in the same way that I think a lot of comedy from that period and before that period did. I think it's very Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly are kind of always the butt of the jokes.
Yeah,
like
I think this is
really
important. I think it's one of the sort of differences we did when we sort of pointed out Holmes and Watson. Holmes and Watson is just kind of mean-spirited to everybody around them, whereas in Step Brothers, the only people people are sort of victims of their carnage around them, but they're not the actual joke. The joke is always them. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I think the whole thing is just kind of a riff on men who refuse to grow up, and this kind of like impotent male rage that both of them have in the film. This like, I mean, it was, even in the beginning, one of my favorite lines in the movie, which I quote all the time, is at the wedding, and Mary Steenburgen's like saying like, oh, my son was just fired from PetSmart, and he's like, he stands up, he's like, I wasn't fired. There was corporate restructuring or something, and then he goes, I told you I didn't want salmon. I said it like 3 times, and that line always gets me, and it's just so like indicative of that kind of very specific, like white, upper class, never had to do a day's work in their life, like men who this is obviously taken, to the absolute extreme, but it feels very like, I know people like this, are not quite as bad as this, but you can kind of like see like the DNA, and you're like, oh god. It's
definitely all based on sort of like is white privilege rage, right? Because it's like the only thing that's funny about 2 grown men living with their parents is that they feel like everyone around you feels that they should have moved on and done something, whereas anyone else is just that's fine, right?
Their attitudes to it, like it's so normalized that they just don't see like anything kind of weird about it, and even their parents who know it's weird are kind of like coddling them, and they're like, oh well, it's just they've had some hard times. And you're just like, oh god, there people like this really exist out there in the world, and I don't think that watching Step Brothers would make them think any differently about their lives. No. But I do think at least it's some comfort that that we get this movie and we get to kind of like laugh at that. So if you can't, it's like they say, if you can't laugh at it, you'd cry.
I still, to this day, I mean, it's a 2008 film. We're 11 years later. I can't clear a space without then mentioning how much room we have now for activities.
Oh my God, yes.
It's just impossible for me. It's just literally like I'm at work or just tidying the house. Look at all the space we have for activities.
I was rearranging my furniture in my bedroom, and I pushed the sofa like over to the wall, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And I told my friend like, I said to her, I rearranged my bedroom, and now there's like a huge space. And she immediately, she was like, "There's so much room for activities." And I was like, "Yes, like you got it like, straight away." I feel like it is that like if you grew up. If you were of a certain age, like that is like such a key reference.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, my parents' generation had like, surely you can't be serious.
Yeah.
And we have, there's so much room for activities, which is not quite as nuanced, I guess, but it just cracks me up every single time. And I can't listen to Sweet Child of Mine without like hearing Adam Scott singing "My Name is Daryl" and I can sing really high, like just every single time, like it gets me. And I think as well, like Catherine Hahn is so good in this movie.
Yes, yeah.
Like, it's just like a smorgasbord of really talented actors who I think, with the exception of Will Ferrell, are mainly known for their serious work. I mean, we've got like Richard Jenkins in here as well. And it's really nice to just see everyone kind of cutting loose so massively in this film and just going full kind of weird about it.
That's very good. And the one thing I always appreciate about the film is that unlike a lot of American comedies, it doesn't have that really slow final third where everyone like goes, "Hey, I found redemption and now I'm not a dick anymore." This one, like you have a tiny bit, but even then, you know, it's just pacing. It's just like, oh, come on, you know, you don't have to stay normal, Will. You can break out of this. And
and I think
it's quite an emotional scene, right, with the Tyrannosaurus Rex speech at the end.
Yeah, the nice thing about that ending is that I don't think it pretends that everything is kind of going to be like totally different. It is just like there's still, you know, there's this wonderful bit right at the end with the treehouse and the Chewbacca masks.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, they're still like, you know, very immature.
Is that mine's not movie quality, but that's okay.
yes. Again, like incredible, just incredible, like just little details like that really get me about the film. I wrote this essay for Little White Lies. We did a whole issue about Roma, and one of the things we did for this was like a series on rooms in films. And I said to my boss David, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny if someone did one on Step Brothers about the bedroom?" And I ended up he was like, "Yeah, that would be funny, like could you write that please?" So I ended up writing this whole essay about their bedroom, because again, like I think oftentimes something that people don't really think as much about when they're watching a mid-budget studio comedy is the amount of like craft that goes into these films. And certainly with Step Brothers, in the production design and the costume design, there's so much kind of attention to detail, and like that's another thing that it really feels like a film that's been made with a lot of love and care. And even like the score is done by John Bryan, which I find incredible. Like you've got this like one of the best working directors today, the guy that did the scores for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and Punch Drunk Love, and here he is like, lols, just doing the score for Step Brothers. I think the fact they were able to get so many talented people to like work on this film, and this was at the stage when Adam McKay had only made about like 3 films, so I think it really like speaks to how much everyone else must have believed in this project as well.
Yeah, I mean they were pretty good films he'd made.
That's another thing that I really liked about it. Like I've had these arguments, I've done this stupid stuff with my siblings, these like really these squabbles you have. I think that the kind of chaotic energy that Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly have together really is like, it is like watching 2 children. It's not like 2 men acting like kids. It is just like watching 2 overgrown, hairy children just like tearing into each other.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. It's definitely not going in the bunker. This has to remain free and out in the world. I mean, our guests always get a buy. Their films never go in the bunker anyway. But even if we'd done this one on the separate sides, there's no chance. There's just no chance. I've got a couple of facts actually. I've pulled off. I'm doing a bit of trivia. I don't know if you know these bins, but the fake testicles that Will Ferrell used in the scene where he's dropping on the drum, they cost $20,000 apparently.
I did not know that. I do know that he took them home with him.
Yeah, so at the end they got him they wrapped him up for him.
Yeah, and I was like, "What did he? Wait, what? Where are they now? Like, what? Has he just got them on display in his house or something?
Yeah,
like, how does that work?
Like, where would you put them? It's like one of those gifts you get, like a Secret Santa, and you're like. Especially at the beginning of an evening, this is like, oh crap! I've got to carry this around all night.
I've got to carry this around all night. Yeah, it's like, and if you're a guy, it's like you can't even really throw it in your handbag. It's like, oh, I'll just put it in my pocket with my house keys, I guess. Like,
yeah. Which pocket? The Catalina wine mixer was not an event, but now is an event because of
every year. Yeah. I think it was Vice or someone that did like a photo story on it, and it's like it looks like the most joyous occasion. Everyone just fucking Catalina wine mixer. It sounds great. Like I'd love to go to that. I very much would not make the trip to Catalina just for that. But I think as well like that speaks to the cult around this film. The fact that there's a whole annual event that's developed out of it.
Yeah, because it wasn't actually filmed. Because apparently Adam McKay went to the island and was like, "I hate this island," and then just like filmed it on the coast. But he left some shots that are filmed on the coast where you actually can see Catalina Island in the distance as like a little callback. But yeah, it was like it apparently wasn't picturesque enough. But the actual the new wine mixer is on the island itself.
Oh, good. Catalina getting some tourism out of it as well. That's nice.
Yeah, right. Cool.
Hardcore Step Brothers fans.
Any final thoughts on Step Brothers before we wrap this up? You could say one thing to someone. Someone had never seen this before, but they'd read the reviews. It was 5.5 or 55%. What would be your one selling point?
I mean, it would just be there's a scene involving the song "Sweet Child of Mine," which will change the way you hear that song for the rest of your life. I feel like if that doesn't sell it for people, I can't help them. Like, if you don't want to find out what that entails, then you will really beyond helping.
I'm sold. I'm picking that up on YouTube later. I'm just straight finding that song. Cool. Thank you for your time, Hannah. Where can we find you online for our listeners?
You can find me on Little White Lies website with all my reviews and things, and you can find me on Twitter at Good Job Liz.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
What a nice chat.
Yeah. I mean, and then it's clear that it's not just me that every time I clear an area goes, look at all this space for activities. I'm glad. It's nice to have those sort of cathartic talks with people where you realise you're not the only person that does that.
Yeah. And Step Brothers is something that I will always probably, if it's on in the background, I'll stick with it and watch it till the end because it's got so many excellent bits in it,
Yeah, it doesn't tail off.
It's not perfect by any means, but it's got so many good bits. And I mean, and that is John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell at their very best, I think, together.
Yeah. Like when I'm Holmes and Watson. Yeah, one of my other sort of kind of favourite films is 40-Year-Old Virgin. I do like watching that film, but it is one where if you get to it at a certain point, you just don't go, there's no point, all the best bits are gone. Whereas this film doesn't really have that.
And it's the first of our new features.
Need a jingle, jingle. New feature jingle goes here. You feature jingle, jingle, jingle. It's the new feature jingle.
And there it is. So all it needs is a bit of drum and bass behind that, and then we're ready to go.
Yeah, a bit of autotune maybe for that last C note.
No, it's perfect.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so our new feature. So we've done top fives, and then we've done our the pitches. Which I'm glad everybody downloaded the pitch specials that I released over Christmas and New Year, just to get everything out of the way. But But this is our new feature, which is what happens next. And the premise behind this feature is that basically it's not like your idea for a sequel to a movie. We want to know, we want to test each other in terms of what physically happens next in the scenes that after a movie has finished. Does that make sense, Matthew?
I think it makes perfect sense.
It doesn't to me, but yeah. Well, we should know because this is our feature. And, So you're going first.
I am going first.
In
yes.
tradition to this feature thing. So tell me what film you've chosen.
Okay, so the film I've chosen is one I watched over Christmas in the cinema. Ooh. It is the latest Star Wars Twitter bait fest. Rise of the Skywalker. Should we put the trailer in? Should we put a trailer in now?
Yeah, go on.
Go on.
Here's the trailer.
It's an instinct. A feeling. The Force brought us together. We're not alone. Good people will fight if we lead them.
People keep telling me they know me. No one does.
But I do.
Long have I waited. And now you're coming together. Is your undoing.
What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir, at my friends.
Confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi. Your destiny. The Force will be with you.
Always.
So, needless to say, normally we're dealing with films that are over a year old and probably aren't, on a huge number of people's hit list and stuff. There is a good chance that you haven't watched the film and are listening to this podcast. If you're in that very specific Venn diagram, I would, if you're in the middle section, if you're on either side, fine. But I would maybe not listen any further because we're talking about the very, very end of the film. Here be spoilers.
But yeah, if you're interested in watching it fresh, then maybe this is not the right what happens next for you. But I'd be interested to know what you thought of it. Did you think it was a good film?
I got swept up in the cinema world with this. So
yeah.
I like it. It was visually very appealing. It was well acted, which is what it always has. I mean, the new sequels have this over all of the prequels, is that there is fine acting in there. Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley are good. They're good.
No, I think the difference is, Matthew, in these sequels as opposed to prequels, is that the actors are directed. And you enjoyed it ultimately, though. But
initially I enjoyed it. It's one of those ones that where you start thinking about it, you realise there are huge gaping plot holes. I don't know if that's.
But do you, like me? I've got a little bit of fatigue with Star Wars. Yeah, I think to be honest with you, it's just Twitter is basically, and Reddit or anything else, is the internet has basically spoiled film.
So the scene, right? And I believe this is the end scene. because I can't check because it's in the cinema.
We've only seen it once.
So the end scene is Rey's gone back to Luke's. What would you call it? Not ancestral.
Homestead.
Yeah, it's homestead, where he was born and raised. Not born, raised. Where he was Tatooine, where he was raised as a boy, and then she goes to his house, and you see, again, like you say, nostalgia. Your heart pangs. She looks down and sees the place where he used to live is kind of disheveled now, a bit sandy and stuff. She buries the lightsabers, and then out of nowhere, a little old lady appears and goes, "Who are you?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm Rey." And then she's like, "No, what's your full fucking name?" Like some sort of belligerent census fucking taker, which is weird. Surely you wouldn't do this. If someone introduced himself, you wouldn't go, "It's not good enough. I want all of the names." But she stares off into the distance. She sees the little Force ghosts of Luke and Leia, and she goes, "Rey Skywalker," and that's the end of the film, right? As far as I remember it.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
There's a lovely sort of vista of her with the two suns or moons, whatever they are, and it's a lovely little ending scene.
Yes. So that happens, then it goes and it cuts, right. So, but it in the feature as we have it now, what happens next is the bit that we're going to now speak about. So this didn't happen in the film, just in case. I just want to make that clear delineation for anyone that hasn't seen that right now. And also, the crone wasn't quite so sweary, maybe, in the original one. I'm not quite so sure.
Well, Matt, they're going to release something, an extended edition to try and make some more money, so you never know.
You never know. Okay, right, yeah. So in the extended version then, the crone then responds to Rey going, "I thought all the fucking Skywalkers were dead." And then Rey's like, "Oh, well, I'm not actually." She's like, "No, you're just pretending to be a Skywalker." And then she starts ringing an alarm, phoning people. And they're like, well, obviously having the crone on one end of the conversation. "No, I don't know who she is. She's pretending to be a Skywalker, but they're all fucking dead. She looks like a Palpatine to me." And then people turn up. Rey gets arrested, but then because Tatooine's kind of like a backward country, she gets like incarcerated for 40 years. And then so like a little prison story thereafter.
So it's basically then it's like Alcatraz when she's trying to escape, like Great Escape or something. So wouldn't she be able to do Force stuff on them if they came for her?
Well, apparently, the Force we thought was back in the day, simple push me, pull you kind of thing. Turns out it's like the Swiss Army knives of powers in that it basically does whatever the plot needs. So, if she became the prison washer, I would imagine the Force powers would suddenly be able to remove tough stains from prison garments. If she was made into the kitchen, it would suddenly be able to produce a perfect jus.
So
I would imagine.
So the Force is like seal it, bang.
Yeah. Apart
bang,
from
and the dirt is gone.
So you got we were introduced to like the Force jump. We were introduced to like the Force bonding, Force healing. This is now Force cleaning. She finds Force cleaning, and she becomes happy with her lot in life because she's no longer. But always she's just. Then referred to in prison by her prison name as not Skywalker, which is what fundamentally boils down to.
Well, this definitely isn't a sequel. I mean, how would that last scene then? If we're saying did scenes directly after?
Yeah, but they just stood in the desert. She's just in the desert, and one of them was having a phone call, and then it takes 10 minutes. The police are quite quick there.
What are they like? Empire police? No, they wouldn't be because the Empire's down. So what kind of police would they be? Just
Tatooine police. Tatooine police.
I just got these visions of two Jawas with police sirens on their heads.
Being followed by a camera crew because they're in body cam squad.
Oh God. Well, I think it's a very it's very different. Is the first word that comes to my mind. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I can believe it because she's imposting. It's kind of like,
and the old woman is clearly a twat because we've already established that with her demand for a last name. She's like, she's not normal in any shape or form. Is she normal?
Yeah, where did she?
And the Skywalkers are famous, right? So they'd be known. They go, oh, Skywalker used to live here. She'd probably the house is probably some sort of like, she's probably there to put the blue plaque up. You know, you know, for the tourist information. She's probably from the tourist information board, so she knows all about the fucking Skywalkers. She knows this isn't one. There's none left. This much is clear. There was Ben. He's dead. Luke and Leia, dead.
She could say, to be honest with you, then, you owe me fucking thousands of credits of rent, you bastard.
Well, actually, my name's Ray Palpatine.
No, don't worry about it.
Oh, fuck, don't shoot electric out your fingers. I could throw you down a well and we could blow the well up, but I know it won't do any fucking good.
Thing, isn't it? I mean, he's dead, but is he dead? Because if he can survive that, then what
can't you survive? Literally survived a huge fall down an electrical thing, which then explodes in the middle of space. I mean, you just don't have to die anymore. That's what they taught us.
Well, I mean, all I could see is that his fingers took a bit of a battering and he's got white eyes.
Yeah. I mean, as things go, I mean, I've had, worse looking scars from a lot less.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I'm still carrying a scar on my foot from Christmas Day because I splashed gravy on it and it burnt me through my sock.
What were you doing? Splashing gravy? Oh, I suppose if you were cooking and being haphazard. Were you pissed?
No. It was like, like that scene in Zoolander. We just shouted, gravy fight! And then everyone started chucking boiling hot gravy everywhere. And it unluckily landed on my foot. So Jackson family Christmas tradition. Yeah, there you go. There's what happened next.
It was a very good pitch. Not pitch, sorry.
Whoa.
It was a very good what happens next. So I've got to challenge. You haven't got to challenge me. I've got to think of something really good.
You got to think of something. You got to find a film. Film.
So I will. And next episode we've got Hellboy, the remake, and then following that we've got to have another interview special. But in the meantime, if you like what you hear and you hear what you like, just pop on to social media, give us a follow on there and join in the chat about movies. But thanks for following and all that jazz.
Yeah. Merry 2020.
We said that at the same time. We have the same thoughts. We're connected like the Force.
Yeah, it's because we've been Force connected, which means, does that mean I see you topless a lot now?
Yeah, well, I've got my high-waisted trousers on. Shall I force past you this pork pie?
Oh, yeah, I wish you could.
Well, no, I haven't got a pork pie. Let me think what's close to me. I've got an old hairbrush. Would you like that?
It's not top of my list of things that I'd need.
Okay, I'll send you this cream.
Oh, I know what you could send me.
What?
A decent ending to this podcast.
Oh, well, thanks then. Cheerio.
Thanks. Bye.